Good morning, it's Friday and that means only one thing in Record Sport HQ. It's Game On, your weekly rapid fire podcast. Hello everyone and welcome to this week's edition. Your hot take podcast where we race through the burning issues in the world of sport. The new Premiership season is up and running in Scotland and 3 of our clubs were in European action this week and a positive result for everyone. It's not often we can say that. Go on the coefficient, Fraser.
On the coefficient. What a week it's been.
Coefficient, love it.
Turbocharging up that coefficient table. Love it.
So welcome to all our regular viewers and listeners. My name's Gavin Berry and I'm delighted to be joined by Fraser Wilson. As usual, we'll be getting stuck into all the big sporting issues of the week and all up against the clock. We've got 2 minutes to get to the point or we'll be beaten by the whistle. You ready, Fraser?
Give it a crack, aye.
Okay, right. Well, as I said, 3 clubs in Europe. Great result for everyone. Let's start. Rangers were first in action. 3-0 win over Czech Republic outfit.
Victoria
Pilsen, yep. So 1 foot in the playoff round. They'll play either Club Brugge or Salzburg. Brugge 1-0 up from the first leg in that game. So you'd fancy them to get through. They, of course, Rangers and Club Brugge played a pre-season friendly earlier this season. I know it'll be a wee bit different. But will Rangers reach the league phase?
First things first, they have to get by Pilsen still, but look, 1 foot. They've got 9 toes in the playoff round. Never mind 1 foot, haven't they? They should deal with that in the Czech Republic. I mean, it's a great lead. Get through that, and no matter who they play, I think they will be underdogs, but that will suit them.
You think?
Playoff, I think that will suit them.
No, but you think you don't even think 50-50?
Well, close to 50-50. Look, Club Brugge and RB Salzburg aren't massive clubs, but they've been there. They were there last season. Club Brugge did very well. I thought they were excellent against Celtic last season.
Sorry, I was going to say that, yeah.
But they have lost at least 3 big players since last season. Jashari, who I saw for against Hibs, playing for Swiss side. Lucerne, 2 years, absolutely brilliant midfielder. The full-back, the Kuiper, and the young guy Talby, it's got a Sunderland, the winger. They've lost some key men. I wouldn't read that much into that draw at Ibrox, that pre-season draw at Ibrox, but I think one thing I would say, having been in Athens last week watching Rangers deal with Panathinaikos under severe pressure. Now, a lot of folk will say they rode the luck, and they did, but you need to ride your luck. You know, they showed flashes of quality. When they had to get a goal, they got it almost instantly. I just think Rangers, in 2 weeks' time, should they get there, you'll have Oliver Antman more up to speed. And what an impression he made in his debut last week. Could have Asgard back in the mix. They might have another new face in the building. This new system Russell Martin's playing will be more up to speed. I think Rangers will have a right good chance of making that league phase. Yeah, Club Brugge last season got to the last 16, didn't they? But very well beaten by Aston Villa. But you're right, they did do well at Celtic Park. A kind of mixed start to the league campaign where they lost 2-1 at Mechelen last Friday. So full time. Move on. Yes. So one man, Nico Raskin. He would know Club Brugge as well as anyone, obviously, being Belgian himself. Dropped from the starting 11 for the Pilsen game, along with James Tavernier and a couple of others. But these were the 2 main players who lost out and are placed in the starting lineup after that interview by Russell Martin calling out the egos. And you were at Fir Park, of course. Do you think the pair still have futures at Ibrox? I take them separately because I think there's a separate answer to both. What a big statement for Russell Martin, and he can't argue it worked. So first, Nico Raskin, I think if somebody comes in with a bid that matches Rangers' asking price, I think he'll be going. I don't think he will have a future at Rangers because I think they're starting to get well covered in there. I do think he's probably still their best midfielder, Nico Raskin. He's an all-rounder. You know, he's even popping up in opposition boxes and scoring headers now. He's got everything. Great wee player. I think if somebody came in maybe with a bid around about 15 million mark, Rangers would grab it. And Russell Martin has, of course, signed Joe Rothwell. He's his man. Joe Rothwell seems to be his man for who's nudged him out of the number 6 role. He's out of his preferred position. What he would see his preferred position. You've also got Asgard to come back in and a few other squad players. I think Rangers could afford to cash in on him if somebody comes in with serious money. James Tavernier, you also asked about James Tavernier. I think he does have a future. He's still the club captain. He might not be first choice for the big games if Max Harden comes on to a game, but I think you'll see James Tavernier playing at least 50% of certainly the domestic games Big influence in the dressing room. It's no coincidence. Every manager has kept him as a manager. That's captain since Steven Gerrard made him captain. I think he's got a big influence and gets an unfair rep. Look at last week. Still, he might not have been brilliant the first part, but he still came up with a goal that won Rangers a point. So I still think he's got a massive part to play. And at the age he is, I think it's best.
Well, listen, he's only got a year left. You're hardly going to go now, testimonial. I mean, what are you going to get from him anyway? I mean,
exactly. I wouldn't put it beyond Tavernier being there beyond next summer.
Oh, that's a different question.
Well,
you think?
I could see him seeing out his career there. Yeah. He seems to enjoy it. He's comfortable. What's going to be an offer down south at this stage of his career? Yeah. I just think it's still a big influence.
I could see it appealing to him, but I mean, do you think the club would want? I mean, can you see the benefit of Rangers extending his stay?
I just think
give it. It divides opinion of fans so much.
It doesn't divide the changing room, the important part.
Okay, good point. Well made. Now we knew if you'd read Record Sport online or looked at various WhatsApp chats or around about social media, you would have known that James Tavernier and Nico Raskin weren't playing because the team was leaked on the day of the game. And Barry Ferguson, of course, is telling us in the Daily Record, their columnist, and of course, caretaker manager at the time, was saying it was an issue when he was there. Friends texting him and saying, "Is this your team?" And they were bang on. So there's clearly a mole somewhere at Auchenhowie. How concerned do you think Russell Martin will be by that?
It's certainly a problem he doesn't need at such a busy time for his rebuild, his revolution at Rangers. He's trying to get new guys in the building. He's trying to implement a new style of play. He doesn't need these distractions. But I tell you what, it must be nagging at the back of his mind, because how can you trust anyone in the if you know it's somebody in the building? Yeah. Who knows who it could be? It could be, I don't even want to name positions because I don't want to cast aspersions. But if you can't trust the people in your own building to keep really important information like that under wraps, then you've got a serious problem. I mean, you lose a surprise element, a surprise factor, and that would have been a big surprise. His team lines dropping on Tuesday night. Look, it's not new in Scottish football. I think Celtic managers have had issues down the years.
I was going to say, I mean, I remember during the COVID season with Neil Lennon after a defeat to Rangers in that first Old Firm game, he was raging about it.
Yeah.
Brendan Rodgers last season, it was after they'd beaten Aberdeen in the Premier Sports Cup semi-final 6-0, but he says it's not nice when it's out there, and especially if it's from Celtic supporters. Absolutely. It might feel great for someone's ego to put it out and pass it on, but as a manager I can tell you that I've had it before with the opposition teams. When I've got to know about it, it's really helped me in preparation. That's the key. That's what I was going to say. This is a manager saying this is it just
the best answer he could get. And I tell you what, is bang on. If it's just knowledge is power and folk can't help themselves putting out there, it would actually be even worse if somebody was doing it for other ulterior motives.
Yeah, well, listen, the obvious conclusion to draw is, when players were dropped, it'll be, it's not to say necessarily a player himself is going out and do it, but a player might say to his agent or say to his pal, I'm not playing, the manager's going like this, could be in the half, and then they get it out there.
Yeah,
it could be various ways.
Was there not a famous Scottish one when Craig Levine went with the...
Oh, yeah. Do you know, I was thinking of that
4-6-0.
I was actually thinking of that one this morning. When I knew this topic was coming up, my mind went back to that one. Yeah, he certainly pointed to a few potential culprits
in his squad.
Yeah. But again, players have been dropped. Yeah. It's not hard to work out.
Yep.
Okay. Fraser, staying on the European theme, the SPFL finally introduced a rule this season that teams could postpone a fixture sandwiched between their playoff ties. Yeah. All teams were allowed to do it. Celtic opted not to utilise it. They're going to go ahead with their game against Livingston at home. But Rangers, Aberdeen, Hibs...
Aberdeen certainly have.
Aberdeen and Rangers did.
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you think it's the right thing to do as an argument, or do you need games now at this stage of the season? There's also the potential of losing ground. I know you still have a game in hand. It's the old cliche, you better have points in the bag. What about the momentum of games? Do you think it's right?
I think you've answered the question for me there. It's again, two separate cases. I think Aberdeen, I think Rangers are right to do it because they'll be 7 or 8 games deep by that point and really big games, through 4 qualifiers.
So you think they'll need the break?
I think it'll help them. Yeah. I'm not saying they'll need it, but who knows? They might have picked up a few niggles by that point, and you've got to think ahead just in case. So I think Celtic, on the other hand, you saw maybe a bit rusty in the opening game against St Mirren. They're games, competitive games to get up to speed, get new guys up to speed. I think it will benefit Celtic to play that game at home to Livingston. Rangers, what game was it they cancelled again?
Away to St Mirren.
See, that's a very physical game. St Mirren bullied Rangers in Philip Clement's last game as manager. They're a very physical team. I can see why Rangers have cancelled that one. Yeah, but
the argument, Fraser, against it, and it's easy, a lot of Rangers fans who have made the point, is that if Celtic were to come to Ibrox and win the first Old Firm game of the season, I know it's like a negative way of looking at it, but that's what we do. You know, they could be 8 points behind. You know, it's psychologically, even if that's
that's a good argument. It's a tough.
Imagine your 8 point. Can you imagine the mood around Ibrox?
Oh my word! Yeah,
8 points behind. Now, if you're in the Champions League phase and you've banked 40 million or whatever it is, I suppose if you're the 49ers and you're Russell Martin, you're looking at a bigger picture, but. It's a long way back even at that stage, because you then get to...
What if they go to St Mirren and lose the game anyway? And they're 8 points behind without the game in hand. So
I know. It's all ifs and buts.
Absolutely. You can argue it both ways. I think they're right. I think both clubs are right to do what they've done.
But you think they're right to do what they've done, yeah. Because, of course, Celtic could have... Okay,
we'll never know.
You'll never know what it was. Sorry, what I'm going to say is, I'll go into my next point. Celtic fans are growing increasingly frustrated at the lack of transfer activity. For you, what will be the tipping point
for fans? The tipping point. Wow! If they make a mess,
I'll get to the manager shortly. The fans.
If they make a mess of the Champions League playoff, that would be Terminado time again. Well, anything's possible in football.
You're right.
Didn't look great at home to St Mirren at the weekend.
I mean, that would be more than a tipping point. That would.
That's what I'm saying. It'd be Terminado time again, wouldn't it?
But do you know what I think? Is this not? The fact that draw. It was so favourable. I mean, seeing if they got like Basel or somebody like that, and you're thinking, but this draw is so much heavily weighted in their favour that there's no way they won't get by with what they've got, is there?
You're sounding like you're on the Celtic board here. Are you in charge of the purse?
Sorry, that's what I was going to say. But that's how they could be.
Well, look, fans aren't seeing it that way.
But that's how fans
are seeing. It would be unforgivable if they didn't get through that. All I'm saying is that's the first stage. Where would the tipping point come? Then it comes on to the Old Firm game after that. If they don't have new bodies in the building for August the 31st against Rangers, you'll see some serious revolting from the Celtic fans then. But they will. When Arne Engels and Austin Trusty arrived, and was it August the 30th? Last season, I think Ida was maybe August the 14th. So going back a year, none of the big three deals have been done by this point. It's just the way Celtic work, rightly or wrongly. It's the way they work, and they get the big guys in the building eventually. Whether it's in time for those two big games, that will be the decisive factor.
In fact, maybe today's a tipping point. I don't know if you read the story from the Go Ahead Eagles sporting director saying Celtic should be more like Rangers. That must be.
He's got a big wooden spoon out, isn't he?
If that is not the tipping point for Celtic, given the fact Rangers have been slagged so much for the way they conduct the transfer business and penny pinching and not signing.
He's plenty of the gallery there. He's trying to get the Celtic fans up in arms, so it's plenty of them already are. He's got his big stirring spoon out.
Yeah, but I just wonder if you're right. The Celtic board. You're saying that you sound like the Celtic board, but that's the thing. They probably will get into the league phase. They probably think they could win the league with what they've got. But I suppose that's part of the issue.
That's a dangerous game. They're short up top. I think everyone knows that.
And Brendan Rodgers has obviously sent out these not so subtle messages. This time next year, look into your crystal ball, Fraser. Will Brendan Rodgers still be the manager at Parkhead in 12 months' time?
Where is that crystal ball? Wow. Look, my hunch is that he won't. He'll have done his 3-year term. He said they would see it out. Nobody could hold it against him.
But then he said there's nowhere better. But he said there's nowhere better. So why? So if he's not going to be manager in 12 months' time and he's saying there's nowhere better and he loves it, is he just saying that secretly?
I think he needs a new challenge. I think if he wins the league again, he's completed the challenge every single season. If he can match last year's Champions League exploits and get to the knockout stages and maybe go one better, what's left for him to do? I think Brendan Rodgers wanted a rest, remember, after leaving Leicester, and he gave up that rest to come back to Celtic Park, work for the club he grew up supporting, but also try and mend the damage he'd done with the support when he first left.
You're right.
I think if he wins a league, a double, and a treble this season, he will well and truly have mended that relationship. And I think time's marching on for Brendan Rodgers. I think he'll fancy managing abroad at some stage. I could see him managing in Spain or something.
But the other thing is, crucially, Fraser, with all these messages, far be it from me to say, well, this is designed, but, he's got into a position where fans, and I've heard them saying it, wouldn't blame him if he walked, because he's because it's all on the board now. It's all about they're not matching my ambitions. So he's blameless if he leaves, whereas the last time fans were up in arms and the anger was all directed towards him. If he walks away, in fact, if he walked away mid-season again, I don't think there would be the same anger towards him, because a lot of fans would blame him. I'm not saying he'll do that. I don't think he would do that.
No.
But when he chooses to leave at the end of the season, as I agree with you, I think he will. I think fans will say, listen, he came back, he did what we wanted him to do, and you know what? If the board aren't going to match his ambitions, why should he hang around?
Put it better than I could, Gavin. And nobody could blame him.
And I know Martin O'Neill disagreed with this week, but Gordon Strachan says 3 years enough for any Celtic.
That's a shelf life.
I think he's right.
Shelf life. I've heard many managers saying that. 3 years.
I think he's right. Okay. Now, Aberdeen kicked off the new season Monday night. Tynecastle defeat to Hearts. Has the Scottish Cup triumph masked serious problems? 5 wins from the last 28 league games for Aberdeen.
Staggering, that stat, isn't it? Look, it's not a bad mask to have, is it, to be fair?
Thanks for coming up with it, by the way.
Well, you're welcome.
Thanks for coming up with that.
You're welcome. But as masks go, that Scottish Cup victory.
And they've got Celtic as well. Celtic
this weekend, it could become 29. But no, to answer your question, that was such a sensational day at Hampden in May for Aberdeen. First Scottish Cup triumph in 30 years. Ended an 11-year wait for any silverware. Jimmy Tillene must have deserves massive credit in the bank for that. The scenes in the city afterwards, for days afterwards, and probably still now, absolutely sensational. So well done, Jimmy Tillene, Aberdeen, for that. But, their league form absolutely fell off a cliff. I've never known any club to fall off a cliff like that in Scottish football. 5 wins in 28 league games now since December. They took some real heavy scuddings off of Rangers and Celtic in that time. Worrying late. I don't particularly like their transfer strategy this summer. I think they could do with more of a Scottish core, a wee bit of the Dundee United strategy about it, bringing in a lot of foreigners. And I can only really see Nicky Devlin, Big Jack Milne and Graham Shinney, the captain, as the standout first-team Scottish players in that squad. I think they're lacking strikers. If they could get a deal to get Kevin Nisbet back up north, I think that would be a no-brainer. I just think Monday's defeat to Hearts showed they're a good bit behind Hearts. I think they're a good bit behind Hibs. I think 5th's the best Aberdeen can hope for this season. And come the end of the season, Telline's credit might have run a bit dry. Yeah,
I get it. I just think there's been a wee bit of an overreaction, I think, and it's because it can be traced back to the kind of poor end to last season. But I think, if we just take the game in isolation, I thought they were wasteful, but there was a period in the second half. Yengi had a glorious chance, didn't he? He's got to put that away. There was individual mistakes. I just
don't. Far too many goals, though. You're talking about individual mistakes. That's not new. Seeing that run at the end of the season, the 4 defeats at the end of the season. I was absolutely staggered they won the Scottish Cup final. So fair play again to them for such a resolute performance.
So obviously down in the dumps for the Dons, but Hearts. The Hearts win comes. They were, Tynecastle was pumped up. And on the back of, Tony Bloom, his big State of the Nation address, targeting a title win at Hearts within 10 years, achievable or a pipe dream?
Well, Tynecastle was rocking, wasn't it? Monday night, incredible. What a place when things are going well. Interestingly, I spoke to Blair Spittle yesterday, who was telling us the players met Tony Bloom for breakfast after that on Tuesday morning, after that game. I won't give too much away. You can read that in the Sunday Mail. But certainly there's a feel-good factor about Tynecastle right now. Best signing they'll make by a mile this summer is putting Derek McInnes in charge. What a manager. He knows what he's doing. So to answer your question.
Sorry, there you go.
Derek McInnes will take Hearts clear in third, I think, this season. He will bring silverware to Hearts in the next few years. But over 10 years, I cannot see them mounting a title challenge. It's not just Hearts that are strengthening. Celtic and Rangers will keep strengthening. Hearts beat Celtic home and away 2 seasons ago and still finished 25 points off the pace and 17 or 18 points off second place Rangers. It's an absolute marathon. That is where that's where the other clubs come unstuck. They can match Rangers and Celtic over 90 minutes, but the 38 league game campaign, it just proves too much. And unfortunately, I hope Tony Bloom's right. I would love to see it.
I see a lot of people laughing at him, the claim and, saying it's ridiculous. And I think that's a bit much because, we've got to look at what this guy has done at Brighton and Union Saint-Gilles.
Well said.
But when you look at it, I mean, as much as it's remarkable to win the Belgian league title with a club who had never won it in 90 years, the gulf from Union Saint-Gilles to the dominant teams in Belgium is not as big as the gulf between Hearts and if you look at Anderlecht, I was looking at Anderlecht earlier, who dominate for spells, their capacity is only 22,000. So it's not like Union Saint-Gilles is maybe sort of 12,000. It's not. Whereas Celtic 60,000, Rangers 50,000, so it's a bigger leap. And people talk about what he's done at Brighton.
How close have they got to winning the Premier League?
No,
it's a different thing talking about improving a club and taking it forward to actually winning a title.
Yeah, because they were talking about how they were nearly just escaped relegation to League 2 and then they become a top 10 Premier League team. Great, absolutely fantastic, but it'd be a bigger
more power
jump.
to Tony Bloom. I love his ambition. He's a great addition to Scottish football.
Okay, so from the high of Hearts to the down of Dundee, do they look doomed already? Are they going down?
Far too early to say that.
Imagine that one game. one game in. No.
The problem is it's no one game that's got Stephen Presley doomed, though, is it? It's the League Cup campaign as well.
Crystal ball out again. We're going to replay this at the end of the season.
So told me I needed to invest in a crystal ball before this.
Well, these predictions.
Aye, I fear more. It's
Ibrox on Saturday tea time. Lost the opening game to Hibs. It was already doom and gloom out the Premier Sports Cup. In fact, I laughed, Fraser. So Dundee fan, he put an updated Premiership table after Aberdeen's defeat at Hearts on Monday, and he said this is progress without the relegation zone without kicking a ball. Because you had
are they 11th?
Actually St as well because they lost 2-1. Yeah, so they're actually
things are not.
But that's what he was saying. Who said Dundonians don't have a sense of humour? Sorry for anyone watching or listening in Dundee.
Have we started the clock yet?
Yes.
Okay, no, I
sorry for rambling on.
No, it's fine. You made a great point. A bit of humour there. Look, I fear it's a bit more Stephen Presley. It might be doomed, and I hate saying that because I like the big guy. He basically went in there with negative credit in the bank for the fans, didn't he? And unfortunately, that well's run even more dry, I think, with recent results. It's no helping themselves, some of his statements, admitting this week that they're struggling to get players in to fill gaps where they're needing players. He needs Simon Murray back, fit and firing to have any chance. It's going to be a tough few weeks for Dundee. I do fear for Presley more than Dundee at this stage, but it's such a long way to go. 37 league games left.
Ibrox Saturday tea time, but a bit like we're saying with Aberdeen. Aberdeen, you lose your opener, and then you've got Celtic. Dundee, it's just when you start the season like that, you know what it's like. Momentum, you need momentum.
Yeah.
If Rangers play as they did against Victoria Pilsen, and they lose, by a few, it's,
they need some bodies in the door. I noticed Burns has put out a story this morning that they're trying to get Jan Danda for Hearts. They're needing bodies in the door before the end of the transfer window, and then you've still got, after Saturday, 36 league games to sort yourself out. So it's far too early to say they're doomed. Fingers crossed Stephen Presley can turn it around.
Okay. Now, to finish off, Fraser, this week, Scott McTominay, the first Scot since Alan McCoist in 1987 to be nominated for the Ballon d'Or. 30 contenders, so his name's on the 30-man list. How much importance do you place on the Ballon d'Or? I mean, it's great for Scott McTominay, great for Scotland, but how much importance do you place on that award?
Well, we all talk about it every season, don't we? I mean, and it's always, you can't say you ever get any rank outsiders winning it. It always is somebody that thoroughly deserves it, and there's some serious talent.
I was going to say the opposite.
Oh dear.
Go on. Actually, when I think of Ballon d'Or, I don't know if you've ever seen that clip of Rio Ferdinand repeating it 6 times during that commentary. I just think back to that Ballon d'Or.
Oh, there's some serious talent on that this season. Scott McTominay is in really, really good company, and it's just great to see a Scot on there. I mean, Ken what,
Gavin? And Caroline Weir as well.
Caroline
She's
Weir
up for the women's award.
Exactly, a Scottish double. Brilliant. Folks say we don't have world-class players available at the Scottish national side. This proves we do. Maybe not enough of them, but we definitely do.
I'm not sure the winner really always represents the kind of the general public.
Maybe Scott McTominay has got an even better chance. He's an absolute hero in Napoli. He's led them the Serie A title, 13 goals, 14 goals was it over the season. Absolutely brilliant. Same for Scotland as a leader, a goal threat, so influential for club and country. What would make it really nice if somehow we won it this season is that the only Scot to ever lift it, Dennis Law, obviously passed away earlier this season. What a lovely touch if another former Manchester United player and Scottish hero was to lift it this year. I have to admit, I've got a sneaky feeling my other favourite Scot might sneak it though. Denzel Dumfries.
Oh, Fraser.
Maybe just a wee bit biased there.
Yeah. No, I think Dembele's the favourite, isn't he? He's the outstanding candidate.
Fantastic in the Champions League final, wasn't it?
But I mean, it's 100 journalists, I think, are basically all giving a say. What do we know?
Clearly, I'm not one of that 100.
No, I'm certainly not one of the 100 either. But Modric won it in 2018. I think there was an outcry, and Messi and Ronaldo boycotted it.
You're talking top class players here.
I know, but I think sometimes, and not only, it's always favoured towards attacking players, isn't it? Naturally, that's good. I mean, you're a goalie, aren't you?
Donnarumma's in there. Pleased to see that. Yeah. As important as anyone, that PSG.
A goalie's never going to win it. I think Cannavaro's, he won it maybe.
Casillas? No.
Did he?
Casillas.
I think Cannavaro.
Goaliest here.
I thought I'd read that Cannavaro was the last, kind of non-flair striker player.
Well, sorry if you caught me out there, but good luck to McTominay. It's just great to be in that 30-man list. And well done, Caroline Weir, as well. Well deserved. Yeah,
and I think the ceremony's in September, so we'll know by then. Anyway, that wraps up Game On for another week. Thank you all for listening or watching this week's episode. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. If you like what you hear, why not leave us a review or a comment? Thank you, Fraser.
Cheers, Gavin.
Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you.
Cheers.